As soon as you connect the dots, the cacophony stops making sense and the individuals who relied on it start to sweat. When understanding comes, there is a peculiar pulse that seems like a movie, not the noisy type, but the silent, creepy sort. The sort where everything you've seen, put up with, and stored in your mind finally fits together like a completed jigsaw. There were no fireworks or dramatic music, just a clear, indisputable realization. Oh, that's what this has been about the whole time. Most people don't want to hear this, but the human brain is programmed to resist completing patterns when the outcome threatens identity. Neuroscience demonstrates that when someone realizes something that goes against their self-image or social benefit, their brain sees it as stress, not enlightenment. In short, not everyone finds connecting the connections to be instructive. For others, it seems like being caught without ever being accused. That's why clarity might seem like a jump fright. This is when things get awkward and funny without meaning to, while you're calmly putting things in order in your head. Like a grown-up organizing files, someone else is freaking out inside, saying, "Wait, when did you figure this out? You didn't say anything. You didn't change your tone. You just stopped being confused." And apparently, that's enough to ruin the mood. Most individuals don't know that being confused is a way to get social approval. People feel sick rationalizing, reframing, and making little changes to reality in their favor as long as you don't know for sure. The equilibrium changes as soon as you cease requiring such explanations. You are no longer reacting, you are recognizing. And recognition is dangerous not because it is forceful, but because it cannot be undone. This isn't about being smarter, better, or more mysterious. It's about integration, seeing how behavior repeats, how politeness hides reasons, and how results show intentions. When those connections connect, discussions shift, energy changes, and people start doing better or worse than they should. This isn't because you said anything incorrect. It's because you're no longer stuck in the fog alongside them. That is the true explanation for the all moment. Not drama, not power, just the quiet awareness that you are in the same room with someone who finally gets it and doesn't need a meeting, a memo, or a motivational statement to show it. Welcome to what occurs when the dots join. First, you didn't become smarter. You become a part of something. Most individuals seldom cross the barrier between knowing more and comprehending better. They pile on knowledge, repeat smart words, spout ideals they don't really live by, and think that's progress. Things that occurred to you are different. You didn't simply add new concepts to your mind. You linked the ones you already had: experiences, blunders, trends, individuals, and results. They stopped living in separate boxes. They came together to form a distinct internal structure. That's why things seem more peaceful today. Not easier, but more peaceful. You are no longer impressed by how smart someone seems on the outside or how emotional they are. You can detect when something doesn't add up without having evidence right away. You don't hurry to respond because your mind has already quietly gone through the pattern and come to a decision before your tongue got involved. This type of integration alters the way you move. You quit going on and on about yourself. You quit fighting only to win. You cease being sucked into other people's uncertainty. After then, chaos loses its hold. People can see this change, even if they can't put it into words. Talking to you feels different. You don't bite on bait. You don't fall for framing that is too dramatic. You don't get lost in things that don't important. That makes individuals who are accustomed to handling situations with emotion or complexity feel uneasy. They know that you are no longer acting on a whim. You are acting out of insight. Integration also means holding back. You don't feel the need to correct everyone or show off what you know. You know when to do things. You know how much it costs. You understand that not every truth requires a microphone. Even when you don't speak much, that maturity comes off as confidence. This is the tipping moment that most individuals never reach, not because it's impossible, but because you have to deal with hard truths and let go of old ideas. It means recognizing that some things you stood up for weren't worth standing up for, and that some individuals you trusted were more predictable than you wanted to realize. You can't unsee it once everything is connected. You don't feel better than others. You feel stable. And that grounding is what makes other people uncomfortable because they are still trying to put things together while you are already seeing the complete picture. Number 2, they are starting to realize that you know why things happen, not simply how they happen. Most people just look at what they can see. They pay attention to what others do, say, and how they feel. Someone becomes angry. Someone goes missing. Someone makes big promises but doesn't follow through. That is where most conversations stop. You get over it. You begin to wonder what continues making the same things happen, even when the people and things change. You see that conduct is frequently only a sign of something else, not the problem itself. This alteration makes everything different. When you know the reason, excuses don't work anymore. You don't be fascinated by apologies that don't alter anything. It's not hard to understand when someone says that timing, stress, or poor luck are to blame for patterns that have been going on for years. You know when someone's surroundings support harmful behaviors, or when they need to remain stuck to save their individuality. You are not being mean, you are being honest. People can tell immediately away that this is true. They know that you're not reacting to what just occurred. You're responding to what always occurs. That is rather disturbing. It signifies that their normal techniques don't work. You know how the tale ends since you've seen it before. Knowing why something happens also makes it tougher to control you. You don't get distracted by emotional displays. You don't become too confused by technical explanations. You can tell when someone is preoccupied talking about what they did instead of why they did it. That knowledge causes a little change in power. You are no longer dealing with appearances. People are truly scared when you don't have to face them. You don't trap them with reasoning or call them out in a big way. You merely need to change your expectations and your limits. You stop giving people the same opportunities. You don't get startled anymore. That quiet readjustment is louder than any fight. Reading a few clever thoughts won't give you this type of comprehension. You can get it by being honest about the results, even your own. It comes from being honest about when you were tricked, when you saw warning signs but didn't act on them, and when you wanted a different tale to be true. That honesty makes you more aware. You cease taking things personally when you can see the reasons clearly. You know that much of what others do has little to do with you. It has to do with the things that individuals bring with them wherever they go, such their worries, habits, and unsolved issues. That awareness makes things clearer, not bitter. And that's when the irrefutable moment happens for other people. They know that you are no longer dealing with symptoms but with the causes of them. And roots don't lie. You stopped arguing and began mapping, which is number 3. Most people think that arguing is a sign of intellect. People think your mind is heavier the louder, quicker, or more aggressive you are. But you quit playing that game. You knew that debates don't often show the truth. They show how egotistical, insecure, and good you are at what you do. Instead, you began mapping, silently watching, linking, and making guesses. You saw habits get stronger, patterns repeat, motivations hide behind smiles, and inconsistencies come out like invisible ink. Mapping doesn't require a lot of space. It doesn't require any emotional drama. You don't have to say that you see everything. It is instead delicate, unending, and precise. You don't respond to every action as if it's fresh. You may see the path before it occurs. And when you eventually say something, it's not an argument. It's a conclusion. That's when individuals feel the weight. They see that you have been reading the board and not simply the pieces. This type of insight makes it pointless to argue. You don't spend energy attempting to change someone's mind when they are stuck in denial or pride. You concentrate on comprehending connections, the reasons behind certain acts, the recurrence of particular activities, and the way objectives mask themselves in disorder. Others find that change unsettling since it takes away their accustomed power. They can't trick you. They can't get you to believe their story. They can't make you believe a version of truth that only helps them. The strength of mapping comes from being patient. You are looking at the pattern that makes the noise while everyone else is responding to it. You know what makes individuals act a particular way, what they could miss, and where their logic is weak. That quiet knowing gives you power without you having to say anything. Even if you don't make it clear, others will notice this. Your calm, thoughtful presence shows that you are more aware than other people. And that's what makes you say oh, not because you said anything unexpected, but because they know that you can see all of their plans and actions. They can see the map you have made in your head, and they can't hide from it. Number 4. They know you can guess what they're going to do, and that scares people. People are naturally afraid of losing control. And nothing makes that anxiety more than discovering that someone else can see what they are about to do before they do it. You didn't learn how to read people by lying or making them do things. You learn how to make predictions by looking for patterns, timing, habits, and rewards. You saw the little things individuals do to give themselves away long before they attempt to disguise it. That type of understanding isn't showy or loud, but it's clear and makes other people feel uncomfortable in ways they can't quite explain. Predicting things doesn't mean reading minds. It has to do with reading things that are consistent and those that are not. You can tell who lies to make themselves feel better, who bends the truth to suit their story, and who behaves the same way when things become tough. People know that their regular tricks don't work when you act on that knowledge. That understanding strikes you like cold water. They can't lie. They can't control things. They can't use misunderstanding as an excuse. They are suddenly on show in front of someone who is not amazed, surprised, or playing along. It's not that you're smarter than them that scares them. It's that you're unshakable. You reply in ways that make sense based on what you've seen, not in ways that they want to cause confusion. And when people realize that you always know what will happen, they start to panic. They see the difference between what they wanted to accomplish and what you already did. That divide makes people afraid because it takes away the sense of control they have always had. What worries me the most is that you seldom let others know you know. You don't make threats. You don't brag. You just live in line with what you know. And that stillness, paired with the right action, helps them see that they have always been predictable. At some point, the pressure of being understood before they do anything becomes too much for them. Their minds rush as they look for a secret move, a mistake, or a way to get back in charge. But there isn't one. You have already put the pieces together, thought ahead, and made the necessary changes. And that's when they understand that their conduct has been clear the whole time, that you have been watching it happen with calm precision. This is not because of anger. Fifth, you don't need their interpretation of events anymore. A lot of individuals are tied to stories that aren't theirs. They depend on other people's explanations, excuses, and tales to make sense of the world, feel secure, and avoid confronting hard facts. You should quit doing that. You don't need someone else's take on what occurred, why it happened, or how it should be understood. You have learned how to watch, connect, and analyze results on your own terms. That independence is little, but it makes the people around you very uncomfortable. When you stop believing what someone else says, you cease being controlled by justifications, spin, or skillfully created impressions. Lies lose their potency when they don't need to be proven true. People attempt to make you feel guilty, angry, scared, or charmed, but it doesn't work. You can see how the tales work, what drives them, and the patterns that make them easy to guess. This isn't being cocky, it is clear, and being clear may make other people uncomfortable without you having to do anything. People are scared when they discover that their reasons don't matter anymore. Every effort to convince you, to persuade you, or to make their case becomes clear. They recognize the difference between what they want you to believe and what you can see plainly. Since of that distance, there is tension, since it is no longer a dialogue where both sides understand each other. It is an expose that only goes one way. For someone who is used to getting their way by explaining things, the idea that you can't be touched by their story is scary. This independence also impacts how you talk to others. You don't fight over who's right. You don't keep defending your point of view. You see, connect, and answer depending on what you see and how it fits. Your behaviors show that you comprehend, not that you are doing well. That makes other people feel vulnerable because they are still living in a world of appearances, attempting to control how things seem instead of how they really are. You have the power of authenticity quietly once. You no longer require their interpretation of events. People can sense it. They know that you aren't stuck in the games they play, and that calm distance, that freedom from their tale, leads to a deep revelation. They can see it, they know it, and there's nothing they can do to put the mask back on. You knew that incentives are hidden in people's personalities. People often assume that character is something that doesn't change and that you can tell right away. What you figure out is far more telling. People don't usually act the way they say they are. It's about what they get out of being that way. Incentives are hidden in plain sight, in the decisions we make, the habits we have, and the people we spend time with. You cease being deceived by looks, charisma, or moral posturing once you start to notice them. That change makes everything different, and it makes other people feel uncomfortable in ways they can't exactly explain. When you understand the reasons behind someone's actions, everything seems a bit too clear. People know that their methods, explanations, and performances don't work on you anymore. Since you don't judge them by the mask they wear, you are reading the plant that is below it. A grin is more than simply a smile. It's a planned communication. A compliment is more than simply being kind. It might be a benefit. Choices that appeared random soon feed into clear patterns of self-interest. That amount of understanding is little yet huge, since most people make decisions based on what they see on the surface. This knowledge also saves you energy. You cease trying to get others to change their minds or expecting they would show you a better side. You pay attention to the things that motivate them, the systems they work in, and the outcomes of their decisions that are easy to guess. That's when influence goes from being about convincing people to being about getting them on the same page. You change how you act to deal with reality, not to make it feed your fantasies. People sense this change in the silence. They know that their tricks, techniques, or acts don't work anymore. They know that you're not wowed, astonished, or taken off guard anymore. That revelation is hard to take because it shows a gap they didn't expect, a difference between how they wish to seem and how you see them. Understanding motivations and personalities goes beyond mere awareness. It is a lens that changes how people interact with each other. People can sense it, but they can't put it into words. That clear, quiet moment when you notice the motivations that are there in front of you is what makes the oh moment so clear. They know you can see the game, the rules, and the movements, and nothing they do can keep you from knowing the truth. Number 7. They feel like they are being seen, not understood, and that is terrible. Being seen and being understood are not the same thing, and a lot of people mix them up. It's nice to be understood. It signifies that someone has entered your world, seen things from your point of view, and understood what you're going through. Being seen, on the other hand, takes away the counsiness. It is a calm, unwavering knowledge of who you are. It's not the version you show or the tale you tell yourself. It's the total of the patterns, paradoxes, and facts you attempt to conceal. It's not judging when you view people this way. You aren't there to punish, teach, or provide advice. You just notice. You sign up. You can see every lie, every justification that is repeated, and every underlying motivation without uttering a thing. And that visibility scares them because it means they can't perform. All of the masks, charm, explanations, and manipulations become useless as soon as they understand that someone is seeing beyond them. People are scared not because you are aggressive, but because you don't need to explain why you are alert. They can haggle with it, argue against it, or charm it away. It exists whether they like it or not. That is what gives the epiphany so strong force. They know, even if they don't realize it, that their regular ways of dealing with how you see things, lean, exaggerating, and downplaying didn't work on you. You are not at the theater where they made it, and that is enough to make you uneasy. This skill also influences how you act. You cease letting noise, petty drama, or fake charm get in the way. You quit getting upset over things that don't matter because your answers come from a whole image instead of a partial one. They are clear, measured, and useful. Even when you don't speak much, you can see that come confidence. And that's why people are shaken to their core when they are seen instead of just understood. They anticipate fog, but they see clarity instead. They feel like they are being watched without being accused. They know they can change the story or conceal the reality. They didn't ask for a mirror, but your clarity becomes one. And once they recognize themselves in it, they can't go back. You stop paying attention to tone and begin paying attention to structure. Tone is what most people fall for. The fury, charm, urgency, and sarcasm take over their minds and make them respond. You didn't fall for it. You stopped reacting to how things sounded and began paying attention to how they operated. Structure became your map. Patterns, sequences, timing, and consistency took the place of emotional cacophony. You saw how fights became worse, how people acted the same way over and again, how words hid their true meaning, and how everything always turned out the same way. Your world changed when you stopped thinking about tone and started thinking about structure. The people around you noticed this in ways that made them uneasy. Manipulations lose their force when you listen to structure instead than tone. You won't be swayed by someone yelling, begging, or charming you anymore. You are looking at the plans, not the decorations, instead of being a compelling force. Every explanation, tale, or performance turns into a sequence of maneuvers that can be predicted. This insight puts you on a different level right away. Since most people live by looks and drama, they know that their normal tools, guilt, fear, flattery, and drama don't work anymore. That knowledge makes things tense and a little panicky. This change also makes your choices clearer. You don't respond to turmoil on the spur of the moment anymore. You are reacting to cause and effect. You know which actions will have effects and which statements are merely meaningless motions. That level of accuracy lets you stay cool even while everyone else is losing it. People see that tranquility, they can sense it, and they can't bluff their way back into having power over you because they know what they're doing. Structure is beautiful because it lets you see the future. You can notice patterns that most people can't detect because they're too focused on tone. That feeling of anticipation isn't about manipulation. It's all about being clear. It's more about being in line with reality than how well you do. And when other people see that their tone no longer affects you, that their theatrics are obvious, and that their patterns are easy to see, they have that unmistakable oh moment. They know they've been living in a world of lies, while you've been quietly witnessing how everything fits together. 9. They know you're not baffled by how complicated things are anymore. Most people are scared of complexity because it seems like it will never stop, is messy, and is hard to handle. They become lost in the minutiae, inconsistencies, and exceptions, going in circles and expecting that someone else would clear things out. You didn't simply get through the intricacy, you learned how to figure it out. You stopped being confused by all the different behaviors, hidden agendas, competing interests, and mixed up results. You learn to discern the underlying structure that makes the chaos easy to understand instead. That changes little, but for some people, it is confusing and even scary. When you know how complicated things are, you aren't surprised by things that shouldn't surprise you. You see patterns and repetitions, hidden motivations, and outcomes that are easy to guess. You can follow a choice from start to end, observe where stress would hurt someone's performance, and guess what will happen before it does. People around you start to see that the lies, excuses, and turmoil they used to feel in control don't work on you anymore. They know you can see the whole picture, while they are still trying to put the pieces together. That revelation makes them uncomfortable, because it shows how little control they really have over events that you handle calmly. If you are comfortable with complexity, you will also react differently. You don't freak out, overreact, or spend energy on drama. You look at the issue, think about it, and do what it really needs, not what the noise says it needs. People find such calm accuracy unsettling because it makes their customary theatrics, manipulations, and frenzied energies seem pointless. They begin to see that no matter how hard they try to make things more difficult, you already know what's going on, have broken it down, and found the weak spots and likely consequences. This knowledge does not make you better than others. It makes you strong. You stay grounded when others are worn out by conflicts and paradoxes. That quiet clarity makes them sail. They see that you are no longer scared of the complicated things they imagined would scare you. They realize that you are not confused and are instead understanding. And that awareness, which is quiet, steady, and unchanging, makes it difficult for anybody to upset, control, or use you. It is not hostile, it is comprehension. And those who have relied on misunderstanding to keep themselves safe for much of their lives are scared of comprehension. You don't have to tell anybody. They show themselves to you. Being present and attentive gives you a peculiar kind of power. A lot of individuals put a lot of effort into controlling how other people see them by carefully choosing words, gestures, and tales to conceal shortcomings or change how others think about them. But you didn't have to force the truth or face the lie anymore. You become someone whose awareness naturally brings up discrepancies and paradoxes surrounding you. It's difficult to mimic being yourself with all of your flaws, shortcuts, and masks. People show who they are without meaning to, and that truth is more stronger than anything you could say. When someone shows you their body, it's not loud or dramatic. It's not obvious. A wrong turn in a tale, an over-explained detail, a silence that lasts too long, or a look that shows discomfort. You may see these subtle signs that most people overlook or don't see. You have learned to interpret the situation, the timing, and the patterns such that the realities people attempt to conceal show out like brilliant markers. You don't draw attention to them. You just change how you think and act in the right way. That unseen control is disarming because it comes from their own actions, not from you doing anything about it. This makes things tense without saying anything. When you're around, people start to doubt themselves and either do too much or not enough. They know that the normal tricks that work on other people, like charm, falsehoods, urgency, or dishonesty, don't work on you. That insight is little but very important. They know they can't escape from your perspective. And just being aware of that changes the situation. This is beautiful since it's so easy. You don't need to fight, argue, or correct anybody. Your clear thinking and observation do the job, and people show themselves without you having to push them. It's subtle and virtually unnoticeable, yet the effect on the mind is clear. This is why this moment, the moment of truth, hits so hard. People feel vulnerable, not because of what you say, but because they can't help but display the truth themselves. Honesty comes up around you without being asked, and the fact that they can't control what you see anymore is both humbling and scary. Number 11. They know that you won't be rushed. Others have been using urgency to get others to pay attention and do things for a long time. Most of the time, it works because individuals become scared. When someone else says there's a problem or asks for an instant answer, they think that rapid replies equal conformity, that swift agreement is comprehension, and that speed may take the place of clarity. You broke that trend. You stopped responding to the rush and began looking at the structure behind it. You learned to tell when something is really urgent, when it is made up, and when it is designed to make you feel guilty or confused. That change not only calms you down, but it also makes you untouchable in ways that are hard for others to understand. When someone learns that their pressure methods aren't working on you, the impact is quick. They see that screaming, deadlines, or big gestures don't make you lose your attention. They notice that you don't panic and instead react based on what you know and what's most important, the energy they were banking on. To manage the story or speed up their advantage falls apart in quiet. They start to overcompensate, over-explain, or even fail as they strive to get back the power they thought they had. And you don't have to be confrontational, quarrel, or even raise your voice for any of this to happen. Not caring about urgency doesn't mean being immune to it. It's about being clear and looking forward. You have taught yourself to put patterns before fear, reasons before drama, and results before looks. That patience doesn't mean you don't act. It makes your motions exact and planned. Every answer is important because it isn't a knee-jerk reaction. It's based on comprehension. That calm decisiveness is confusing to others, since it shows how frenzied they are trying to push and how calmly you are judging what's important. People are scared by how easy it seems. They think that urgency will take over people's minds, change their minds, and make them respond. The moment of revelation comes when it doesn't. They know they've lost power, not because they fought you, but because you won't join in the pandemonium. You are not loud about your immunity to urgency, but it is real, and once they see it, they can go back to feeling safe in their power. Number 12. You stopped looking for approval and began looking for consistency. A lot of individuals spend their life trying to get acceptance from friends, coworkers, and even strangers online. They change what they say, do, and even think to meet expectations, always wondering whether others like, respect, or adore them. You got away from it. You understood that getting approval from others is short-lived and unreliable, but coherence, alignment of thinking, behavior, and understanding makes a strong base that can't be shaken. Instead of looking for praise or recognition, you started to compare yourself to facts, patterns, and logic. People around you may feel that change right away, even when it's silent. Your activities become more consistent when you stop looking for approval. You don't have to explain yourself too much, defend your choices, or act to get attention. Every decision is based on internal clarity, not external pressure. People can see that clarity, even if they can't put a label to it.